train like a vandal did. Illuminate the darkness like a candle lit and turn lives upside down like papers on some scandal shit. If I told you the truth, could you handle it? Or etched it in the window of a train like a vandal did. Illuminate the darkness like...
Yeah, let's just get straight into this, innit? Everyone's been waiting for the part 2. So this is the part 2 to the Wilfred Wong case. What I will highlight in all this so far that I've found out is you've got people like this, and people like this, and people like that, and people like that. Basically, we've got a list of players here. They're all within. They all work together by the sounds of it, and they all need arresting. All 4 of them people need arresting. Anyway, let's get into it.
Wish I hadn't. I really wish I hadn't. Don't do anything, people go away. So I emailed him, like, what do you want? I've got to ask your husband something. You are allowed to be present in the room. Really? So the next day, Friday, the 16th of October, 2020, that's what the date was. So he had already, in email, informed me and told me, and I've got the emails, that I must lie to my friend and say a story that he was my psychiatrist. So in comes Wong with me. This time, interestingly, he had observed my drinking habits. Iced coffee, love it, right, in the summer. So I'm having this iced coffee and I've got some in the fridge, and I said, would you like a beverage? Well, my ex would use those words, sorry. So he goes, I'll have an iced coffee, good choice. So he gets his iced coffee, we sit down, the 3 of us. He was here for about an hour, if that. And so he reads something from the Bible. I remember the exact part, because John Wedder also read the similar part in one of his testimonies. It's from the book of Job, right? He wants him to help rescue a child. And that this child is, I can say what he said, 8 years old and already has 5 alts. Now, so my ex might have had a different interpretation of what that meant. And then he said what he wanted my husband to do to help him with for no money. While, what do? We sit at home and pray, really. So he wants him to hire a van, a Luton type van, a furniture van from somewhere in Sussex where we live. And then he didn't get the story right. I don't think he knew what it was on about. He said, and then you just take it to somewhere in, I think, Surrey. Now I believe it would have been Crawley. Janet didn't know, thought it might have been somebody else, I didn't know. And then take it there. Well, it would be fitted out into compartments. Then all he had to do, once he'd hired it, my ex, is that he had to then drive it. When it had been fitted out, there'd be an overnight, I think he said there. And I'm just like, what the fucking actual, what are you on about? Then he's going to take it, get it compartmentalised and drive to Wales. And he thought it was the Southern Bridge, you know, like South Wales. And then, and I'm thinking it'd be about 20 people doing this weird thing. Drive it over the bridge, a bridge, where it's obviously Anglesey. I've been there. Like, you know, it's nice up in North Wales. And but we didn't know that. And then all he has to do then is get the mother and the child, who then, because they're getting off on this, in my opinion. I'm not. I'm like, what's going on here now again? And I've got my mate in bank and he's had a nice coffee, fucking twat. And like, not saying anything, thinking, how do you get out of this? So Ben, all he has to do is drive to a port. And my ex says, where? And he says, New Haven, which is down the road. And it's like, but they have like 1 or 2 ferries a week. It's in COVID. And then drive abroad. Well, it only goes to Dieppe, really, you know, from New Haven to Dieppe on a ferry with a Ford Luton, with a child and mother. And then if he goes and it like, so he's just sat there. And I'm like, what? Well, my mate's in back. And I'm feeling sick, but you mustn't tell a living soul. They kept saying that all the time. Well, really, to people who've ever suffered any kind of abuse in any way or in any circumstances, for somebody who's supposed to be helping people, what an awful thing to say. And then you just drive all the way on the ferry to this location and you will be met by people. But what if you get stopped? If you won't get stopped, it'll be fine. And if you do get stopped, you just say that you're delivering furniture and that you're being paid £3,000 or £4,000. What? And then, like, so this goes on for a little while. He didn't really know what he's on about, to be honest, in my opinion. So I'm just sitting there going, well, what about me? Going with him? I'm not doing it. Can I have a word with my ex, please, while you leave the room? No. I was being treated, I'm telling you, like some stupid, fanatical, born-again Christian that he'd seen baptised. I was disgusted. So then he said, well, you can have a couple of days to think about it. Well, thank you. So I took him back to the station, right, because I did. And I spent at least an hour and a half with him in the car by the back of Brighton Station, talking about Jeanette Archer, showing him Facebook, because I was thinking, but I already knew that on the Thursday, the day before when he phoned, that he'd been at this farm with her, because she told me, but he didn't tell me. There's a lot going on. So you edit that. My ex. Right. So I've forgotten what I was saying.
Let me put you back on track.
Just tell me where I was back.
You got to basically where you told us what the plan was from Wong himself.
So I take him back to the station, right? So I'm sitting there and getting into this whole kind of gossip thing in car about demons and stuff, and I'm like, I mean, I did still do like the Hammer House of Horrors and that, and it's a bit weird. Jeanette doesn't believe in demons, and I'm like, am I really? I was kind of, this is bizarre, really bizarre. And he's just asked my husband this, and I'm not allowed to say anything. So I eventually get home.
So at what stage, after knowing that so far, what stage did your ex then get in contact with you?
So what happened, he was given 2 days to make his decision, right? And I wasn't to interfere with it, right? So I was petrified, and I was trying to find out and say, don't do it, whatever you do, right? Can't. But I couldn't say anything because of the situation here with a guest, right? But I was trying to say, don't even think about it. So he said, Friday night, when he'd been here, Wilfred, my ex just changed his mind, but he said, no, and my body relaxed. Then I said, well, let me email him now, because I was the contact. This was bizarre what he did, but it wasn't. And so I remember I got Janet Stevenson, as well as my counsellor, didn't know that she was what she was, believed that data protection and the laws of the statutory organisations in therapy. So that's there. But so the Sunday night, and I may have emailed her, I can't remember. I've got it all in my thing. Probably not at that point. So Sunday he phoned up, and he was on the phone for about 7 minutes. Wong, first time with 2 minutes. So I went in the room, and it was really horrible. And I still couldn't find out, because we got, I guess I'll have to wait again, And I said, what happened? But Wong was trying to persuade him, and they were having a long conversation. This is what I heard from my ex, not Wong, was, so I don't know that, he'd said no, it was illegal, but it was me who'd been saying that, and about from joint experience, that there'd be like.
So it's at that stage where your ex had to think about it, and when Wong phoned up, he said, no, I'm not doing it.
On the Sunday, he phoned on the Sunday, and my ex said no, right? But that put us into a really difficult position, because that was the 16th of October, and things got really sinister then before they got arrested. So there's other things for other parts. So I would say about the Jeanette in there, that's can't go that. So then what happened, I was freaked out, really freaked out. And I would have told some people. The first person I did tell was my counsellor. So I told her, because it was a Zoom meeting. I never met her, ever, never met her. And so I would have said something. But remember, Wong brought her into my life, and I didn't know that she was involved in it at all. I had no idea. So I told her in privacy. And I also shared a lot of things with her that I now know, factually, that passed to him. More of it I found out since the press restrictions were lifted on the 9th, because I had no idea. So between then and the 4th of November, and then it gets to Janet and Wong and other people and emails and things changing and happening because of this communication that I genuinely wasn't aware of. And then the jigsaw or the plan or the plot, how we trace things, became more and more apparent to me. And I tried to get out so many times to get things taken down, and I did. But I was under the fear of death. That is the truth. And then I started telling people, because I did. And I tried to get my podcast taken down from John Wedger. And by the way, I did, via the police. Not YouTube, I did that. And another one.
So that leads on to a good question. Is like one of the questions is, when you found out about the plan and what was going to happen, what did you actually do then? Oh, obviously, you're saying start telling people then, yeah? Start telling people about it.
Yeah, it was like, I think what I realised, nobody said very much because people don't. And I did. I told people. I told certain friends that I had made within this bizarre community, and lots of people. So I made a lot of contacts, and then it starts to unravel, and the reality comes in, and it's like I was feeling really sick because I was still in this relationship with Stevenson.
And this is obviously this is before the plan was carried out. This is at this moment.
Yeah, so they were arrested on the 4th of November. So remember that from the press and everything, we know that this has been planned a lot longer. But we were asked, my ex was asked, not me.
Yeah, in September, October. Yeah.
On October the 16th.
Right.
So between October the 16th and the 4th of November, when they were handcuffed to the, thank goodness for the police and for tactical pursuit and containment. And between the time 17th to the 4th of November, I remember where I was on the 3rd of November. I think it was a Wednesday.
Let's go back though. Did you, up until that point, and don't think badly if the answer's no, but no, did you or your ex think, you know what, we should phone the police before the plan? Even though you didn't have a clue when the plan was going to happen. You knew there was a plan, but you didn't know the date it was going to happen. But did you think we should contact the police or not? What happened there?
I was petrified. I was absolutely petrified because when I found out it happened, right, before I didn't, because I wasn't certain at that time whether or not this was genuine. Even if it was, right, even if what he said was true, which is absolute rubbish, but even if there was some situation, so it was like, for me, I'm inside something really bizarre and I don't know what to do. And I didn't say anything because I was frightened, really frightened. I was frightened for my life, by the way. That's why I started to try and get out and find out and ask questions. I was petrified. My life has been trashed. I was having nightmares. I was self-harming. I didn't know who to talk to because I'd been told not to say anything.
Right,
and it was not professional.
What we're going to do then, right, to summarise this up then, so far my understanding is this, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to go basics as well, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, excuse the pun.
No, you've got to
so, earlier on I asked in part one sort of thing section, it's going to be with, I asked you how you met him, and it ended up being John Wedger linked you to him.
And then he emailed him.
And then Wong linked you to Stevenson.
That's
okay. So then, right, so after that scenario, you've then, Wong has then come to your house and interviewed you, followed you around. He then phones up, a few weeks later, he then phones your ex up and tells him the plan. He then comes over to see us as well, the day after.
No, I get this right. No, he phoned him up on the Thursday.
Right.
On Friday, he did it face to face. There was only 2 phone calls ever. Right. One was just because I didn't answer his email to say I needed to ask Lester something because he'd emailed me. Then he come the next day and asked him. Then on the Sunday, he phoned him up. So there was no to get that right. That's how it happened.
Okay.
Then. He didn't have a phone call. It was all emails with me. He never phoned.
So then, in that few days, then you and your ex decided that You're not going to do it. So them 3 or 4 days of after that, after the refusal, after the refusal, yeah.
So there's a lot in this story, as you can tell.
Yeah, but let's get back to the timeline where you refused.
All the stuff was going.
Let's go back to the timeline where ex-husband and you refused to do it. Okay, let's go back to that timeline.
What I need to do.
Then, from that point onwards, you then are just probably hanging around thinking, was it true? Is it not true? What's going on? What a mess! What the hell? And then, so let's go to the part now where it actually happened that day, November the 4th, I think it was, wasn't it?
I didn't know that day. I didn't find out that day because on the 3rd, it was a Tuesday, and I'd had a session with Janet Stevenson the day before they got arrested.
Okay, so we know the summary from part 1 of the video. Let's remind ourselves, the brainwashing, the church, obviously one of the Janet Stevenson, and obviously started from John Wedger. So we already know that. Let's have a look at the summary of part 2. Okay, so part 2, if we get my ugly mush out of the way, where am I? I'm there, right, so I've moved me out of the way, there we go. So, summary of part 2, Wilfred Wong asked the ex to hire a Luton van, okay, locally. They planned to leave the country in this van. Hidden compartments were talked about in the van, in this furniture van. Alicia had told everyone around her, including Stevenson. Now, I did fail to ask whether she told John Wedger and whether she told other people like that, for example. They didn't phone the police. Now, that was the puzzle for me. And it was due to fear. Okay, alright. Fear of maybe thinking they were in trouble themselves. I don't know. The ex refused after 24 hours and told Wong he wasn't doing it. And the planned date, which was the 4th of November, was not given to them. So that's the summary for part 2. Now part 3 is obviously coming soon, next 24 hours hopefully. Let's just go through who I think that the police need to be really looking into in a serious manner. So obviously he's arrested, he's gone now, he's in prison for 20 years, happy days. We've still got these people to go and be looking into. They're all part of the circle, they're all part of the spider's web. Reg is a big player in this, big player. Again, Brian Duresh, UK column, he's always bouncing around. And you've got your Shatwood, your podcast Shatwood as I call it. It's full of shit. So all these 4 people here alone need a tug, as it's called. Need a pull. Because there's some long ones in there. So yeah, part 3, folks, that's going to come in now. I'm going to start editing it, start putting it out. So part 3 is to come.
Illuminate the darkness like a candle lit and turn lives upside down like papers on some scandal shit. If I told you the truth.